Of course, old people do have as much awareness about environmental issues as the younger generation. They even have more. And I would like to start with the youth and then explain why old people also have the same amount of environmental awareness as younger generation. Nowadays, environmental problems is no longer new to the youth because they live in a industrialized society, and as a consequence of modernization and industrialization, young people are familiar with farms and gas emissions in the air and polluted water, which raise their awareness of protecting the environment. And come to think of the elderly, they also can realize how the environment has been worse because they have lived for decades, and some people experience the transition of two eras so that they can see how many factories and industrial company were contracted. I think the environmental awareness of the elderly comes from their comparison of changes of the environmental nowadays and in the past. For example, old people often told that they used to take water from river for cooking food and for subsistence because the water was very pure and clean, unlike the contaminated water nowadays. The elderly also admit that it's impossible to come back to the time that they can go out without worrying about the air quality because there are too many vehicles on the road, which release gas emission into the air, cause air pollution, and lead to their respiratory related illnesses. Yes, definitely. Climate change is pressing matter for human being. It happens and leaves lots of severe consequences behind, which poses many risks to human beings and all other forms of life on Earth. The first obvious manifestation of climate change is probably the global warming. The year 2020, for example, was one of the hottest years on record, caused heat-related illnesses of people and make it more difficult for them to work and move around. Wildfires start more easily and spread more rapidly in hotter weather conditions. Another main manifestations is that there are more and more natural disasters all over the world. Climate change leads to flood and tornado in Asia, severe drought in Africa, while people in Europe have to stand such hard winters. Climate change is a very serious problem, which caused by greenhouse gas emissions blanketing the earth. It is a consequence of so many factors caused by human, such as generating power, deforestation, but I believe the main reason for climate change is the industrialization and modernization of human. Manufacturing and industry produce emissions from burning fossil fuels to produce energy from making things like cement, iron, steel, and other products. During this process, a huge amount of carbon dioxide is released into the air, contributing to the greenhouse effect and cause climate change. The second reason for climate change is the cutting down of the forest. Forest, as you know, is the lung of the earth. It provides oxygen for life on Earth and absorbs the carbon, which stabilizes the Earth's temperature. When trees are cut, release the carbon they have been storing and partially lead to global warming. Recycling is a good way for everyone to contribute to a green environment. I think people should recycling products that are made from non-biodegradable materials such as plastic or iron to reduce the amount of household waste as well as prevents environmental pollution. On top of that, recycling raises people awareness of protecting the environment, and that may change their bad habits of littering or using plastic bags. One more important thing to consider. I think people don't just recycle, because recycling associating with reusing and reducing is the best way to achieve the greatest environmental protection. Well, I would like to split Vietnamese traditional musical instruments into three types: the string type, the wind type, and the percussion type. Vietnamese strings instruments, for example, is the four-stringed lute, which is really often used in Vietnamese court music. The wind type of instruments include some bamboo flute, the short and the long one, while the percussion type varies from metal materials and wood materials such as bronze drums and bamboo xylophone. In modern society, I'm sure traditional music will be a lot less popular than other genres of music, but it is irreplaceable. No matter how trendy and attractive modern music is, traditional music is loved because it tells the listener its own cultural story. Let's listen to some pieces of bamboo flute if you want to enjoy the melodies of forest. If you want to know more about Gongjian Cathedral of Vietnamese people in Central Highland or Sao Vietnamese court authentic songs, come and see a performance of traditional music. It's really worth skipping your surfing the internet to know more about our musical instruments. Definitely yes. There are so many ways to put traditional music back in its golden age that I would like to mention for you. To kick off, it's possible to bring traditional music more close and popular to the youth through social media and social network. It's advisable for musicians to have their own account on TikToks or YouTube where they can share some beautiful classic pieces of traditional instruments with other people. In some cases, traditional music artists are also able to promote their music through collaborations between pop and rock musicians so that more people will know about that type of music. Last but not least, traditional music can't exist if no one plays it anymore. So the artists themselves should make great effort to keep their passions and brings traditional music to the audiences.